Lesson 81, we're going to look at graphing and solving linear equations. So these right here are examples of linear equations. We have slope-intercept formula, y equals mx plus b. All you do to solve for these is what is known as substitution. Now, in the past, you've had maybe y equals 2, and we plugged in 2 for y, and then you could solve for x. Well, it gave you what y equals right there, but in substitution, you can, this is the same thing, it just may seem a little bit more complex, but we actually know what y equals. So y equals 1/2 x minus 1. We also know that y equals negative 3/2 x plus 3 over here. So since we know what y equals, we can plug this in for that y. So it would look something like this. 1/2 x minus 1 equals negative 3/2 x plus 3. And then we are down to one variable in x, and we can solve. So we add 1, we get 4. We add, sorry, I'm going to make this a little gibberish. Add 3/2 x, 1/2 plus 3/2 would be 4 over 2x, and that reduced to 2x. So then we would get 2x equals 4, therefore x equals 2. So now that we know what x equals, we could plug that back in for y. So say I plugged it in right here. 1/2 of 2. 1/2 of 2 is 1. So 1 minus 1 would be 0. So y equals 0. So you can plug in x, you can plug it in here, and you get 0 there as well. So 2, 0, I'm going to write it this way, is my solution. Now, generally, you'll graph these as well. Sometimes it will say to graph. Let's pretend this one said to solve by graphing and then understand your solution. I'm going to show you what this coordinate actually means. Okay, say I was back to this position here, y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Now I was graphing that. Well, negative 1 is the y-intercept. 1 over 2 is my slope. So there's my line. My second line is positive 3 for my y-intercept, negative 3 over 2 is my slope. So those are my two lines. Notice 2, 0 is my coordinate where both of the lines intersect. And so that is technically what you are doing when you are solving the system of equations. It is the intersection. The intersection. That's all it is. So as I solve by graphing or linear equation, you're just plugging in substitution style for y. Now let's look at one more. We're looking at, this is actually example 3, I believe. Example 3, it says graph this system, linear system, to determine if there is a solution. So we're going to see if there's a coordinate. So when it says, it asks if there's a solution, we're going to see if there's a coordinate where these lines intersect. I'm going to start by graphing them. Y equals 2x minus 1. All right, here's 1, negative 1, up 2 over 1, down 2, up 1. Okay, my line's something like that. This would 4 over 2 reduces to 2. So positive 2, then up 2 over 1. Okay, there's the other line. If I solve for this one, I would add 2. That would give me 0. So now we'd be at 2y equals 4x. To get y by itself, divide by 2. So y equals 2x. Well, what that just means, if there's no b, then that's like saying plus 0. So we origin, and then up 2 over 1 to the left 2, or down 2 to the left 1. All right. Now my three lines, they're all parallel. Notice they have the same slope of 2 in all of them. If they have the same slope, that means they're parallel. Well, if they're parallel, that means there's no intersection, so therefore there is no solution. If lines are parallel, that's the case where that you would have no solution. And that's how you do linear system of equations.